All right, guys. So recording a couple of videos tonight, and we're going to talk about Aidan Chiles. We're going to talk about Chiles here. He is a quarterback that played at Oregon State. He played at Michigan State for a couple of seasons now. I think that he's going to be either a junior or a senior. I know that he spent that year with DJU, and he's gotten a lot of experience playing pretty big games, in Michigan State, in the Big Ten. And now if you put an offensive line around him, you put a team around him in Lincoln, Nebraska, he is tied into Lincoln, Nebraska. So Nebraska is honestly favored right now out there. I mean, this is real reporting, from Pete Nakos of On3. It pretty much says that Nebraska, it says that the Huskers, and it also says that the Bearcats of Cincinnati are the two teams that are really involved for Aidan Chiles. But I think that Nebraska is going to outduel Cincinnati. So I like this on a multitude of levels. I mean, it's interesting that Brendan Sorsby, if you just put the quarterback, if you just put the dominoes together, it's looking like Hoover's going to go to Indiana, okay? It's looking like Josh Hoover. There's a real connection there with Cignetti. That's the guy that he wants after Mendoza's going to leave for the draft. It's looking like another target, Sorsby, is headed maybe to Texas Tech. So that kind of leaves Nebraska. They're maybe looking at a couple of options. We look out there at the landscape. Sam Levitt's going to cost a ton of money. He's probably going to go to LSU. He's going to cost a ton. He's going to be one of the higher paid guys in the class. And then you have DJ Lagway. He's going to be more than Aidan Chiles, but I look at Lagway. He has some mobility, but I think that Lagway might need like a year to sit because he just makes really poor decisions. He's really regressed from his freshman year. All right, so then I look at the quarterbacks. Nico Iamaleava, who, is at UCLA, is staying at UCLA. So what quarterbacks are going to be out there for the Huskers to really go after? You could go after an Old Dominion player, but listen, Aidan Chiles has played in cold weather, for a long time. And he was with Jonathan Smith in a very complex pro-style offense. I know he had Nick Marsh to throw the football to, but it was a very adverse situation at Michigan State. He didn't win a lot at Michigan State, and it was very disappointing, okay? But could this be like, look at Jaden Daniels with Herm Edwards. That was kind of a disaster there. Goes to LSU. I'm not saying that Aidan Chiles is going to win a Heisman Trophy, but I think Aidan Chiles is solid. And I also think Aidan Chiles is going to be more affordable than these other quarterbacks because he's a four-star kid from Downey, California. All right. The coach got fired at Michigan State. He didn't have a lot of success. They didn't win a lot of games. He was pretty inaccurate throwing the football as well. That's what scares me a little bit about Chiles. But Chiles is kind of mobile. He could really attack the middle of the field. He has a good arm, not an elite arm. All right. Even Dylan Raiola, peak Raiola, has a bigger arm. But Aidan Chiles can kind of get out of the pocket. He's a big guy. And he's a big, physical, he's a kid that could take hits. He could stand in there, go through progressions, and make plays. Somebody with pretty dang good leadership qualities as well, and someone with a ton of experience and snaps. And really, if he had a solid running game at Michigan State, he probably would have been better. The defense at Michigan State was also a mess, which is interesting that Joe Rossi is going to stay on as defensive coordinator. If we look at his statistics, pretty much, throughout his time, okay, in 2023, he only played a little bit at Oregon State. Then he went with Jonathan Smith out to East Lansing. 13 touchdowns to 11 picks in 2024. And then in 2025, 10 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Was really hurt the back end of the year. I just talked about how he was pretty durable. Against Boston College, didn't turn out to be a great opponent, but against Boston College, really had his moment in the sun there. All right, so who is Nebraska Nebraska going to get on the outside? They need to invest in some wide receiver money. That would be ironic if Nick Marsh wanted to play with Aidan Chiles. I don't believe that that's going to be the case. Against USC, threw for 212, 3 touchdowns. But then against Nebraska in the wind, he actually only threw for 85. That's when the wind was absolutely ridiculous that day. Against UCLA, he was downright awful. Then against Indiana, put up some statistics. So, I mean, I expected Aidan Chiles to absolutely pop. He didn't do that. So I look at this quarterback class and this quarterback market. You could even get like a younger guy. You could even bring in Aidan, and then you could maybe even bring in a J.J. Cole. Like, there's some exciting young quarterbacks in this class. I think Mestamaker is too highly sought after. Oklahoma State's going to put a lot of money in the Mestamaker. Mestamaker's going to be really, really expensive. You get Drew Mestamaker, he's going to be worth your entire salary cap pool. I think that Aidan Chiles is a guy that you can get at a decent deal. And I think that Matt Rhule is looking for a little bit of stability here, in this quarterback market. The thing that I'll say about Chiles is I even like the guy J.J. Cole, who's 6'5" out of Academy, Iowa. He's a guy that I watched at App State a lot. Now, he got injured, but he throws a really pretty football. He kind of reminds me of a Daniel Jones. He has NFL size. He has NFL arm. It's just that with J.J. Cole, like, it is a huge, huge risk, and he is a little bit turnover prone, and he played at a lower level. So now I'm just going to look at the other transfer portal options for the Huskers, and you guys can kind of comment here, on the situation at quarterback. All right, so we have Lagway, Rocco Beck. I mean, Rocco would be a guy that I'd spend a good $2 million for. You have Caden Hauser, played at ECU, pretty decent player as well. Taven Jackson I really like out of UCF. I like Taven's game just maybe as much as Aidan Chiles. All right, and I mean, the thing is with Taven is Taven would get hurt. I thought Taven was going to explode and take over that job. I think Taven Jackson is an absolute gem in this quarterback class. I mean, you watch Taven Jackson play the game, he can really spin it. Braden Atkinson, a little bit of an under-radar player, was at Mercer. Pretty solid player. You also have A.J. Swan, who was at the same school, who was also at App State. I talked about Cole. So the point is that I look at these players. I think AJ Swan is pretty decent. I think Braden Atkinson is actually really underrated. Maybe you take a Chiles and you take an Atkinson. Like, throw a couple of darts at the dartboard at quarterback. But I could tell you this, like, if they're not in it for Sorsby, if you're not getting Hoover, if you're not getting DJ Lagway, you should be able to have money to allocate to other players. It shouldn't be $3.5 million for a guy in Aidan Chiles that didn't win a ton of games at Michigan State. That's just kind of how I view the market. So I don't know if I absolutely love the move. I think that Chiles can be a little bit inaccurate. I think he could be inconsistent. I would roll with, a cheaper and more like, sleeper option at quarterback if I were Nebraska. But I'd even roll with Taven Jackson probably over Aidan Chiles. But I also don't hate the move either. All right, let me know what y'all guys think about this move.